Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your Wednesday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, plans announced to open Yellowstone National Park. You could be slowing down for bison and watching Old Faithful erupt in less than a week, but you may need to alter your normal route to get there. A bit of a split decision. Yellowstone National Park will reopen its gates next Monday, but only the gates in Wyoming. MTN's John Shear explains.
Montana's Yellowstone entrances account for 70% of all the traffic into the park, but they're staying closed because of Montana's 14-day quarantine.
We all have the same goals of getting the parks open.
Shawley predicts that Montana is not far behind Wyoming and says staggered opening dates could actually be beneficial.
Let's see what the impacts are to Cody and Jackson, and let's let that inform what kind of decisions that we make over the next couple weeks in regards to the gateways in Montana.
Monday's reopening will include no overnight stays, very limited services, and no help for Montana businesses.
The town is hurting badly.
Even though Clyde Seeley's hotel in West Yellowstone is mostly empty, he has supported the travel ban.
But we do have to go on living. So we need to learn how to adapt to the new normal.
You know, I understand keeping some of the hot spots closed, like the Old Faithful Inn and all that, but at the very least, let people access Yellowstone.
At the Bozeman Chamber of Commerce, Daryl Schlimm sees the clock ticking.
I think you're going to start to see that if we don't open up and look at what Wyoming and the rest of them are doing, is that it may be too late for us to rebound and recover if we don't get our gates open.
We still have some of the best months in front of us, and let's figure out how to safely and conservatively not put ourselves in a position where we're putting July, August, or September in jeopardy.
Shawley says he puts an enormous responsibility on the public.
There's no faster way for us to go backwards than the public not being responsible when they come here to visit.
Phase 2 of the reopening will see campgrounds, cabins, and more come online. But so far, there's no date for when that might happen. In Bozeman, John Shearer, MTN News.
Thanks, John. Now, Governor Steve Bullock says the Montana entrances won't open until June 1st at the earliest. Well, states and local governments across the nation have seen their budgets hammered by the COVID-19 pandemic. But Governor Steve Bullock says Montana's finances may hold up quite well, and it's premature to start slashing government spending. MTN's Mike Dennison reports.
In recent days, Montana's Republican legislative leaders have asked whether state government should be cutting back in anticipation of a big drop-off in tax revenue. They say the 2021 legislature will certainly face a deficit because of the economic fallout of COVID-19, and now is the time to start paring back government. But Governor Bullock, a Democrat, said Wednesday that's not the answer.
Montana differs when it comes to our state budget from most other states. Our state finances were in a historically strong position heading into this pandemic. And because of that, we also believe we'll come out of this in a stronger financial position than most states.
Bullock and his budget officials said Montana will end the current fiscal year this June with almost $300 million in the bank and has another $150 million in reserve funds and a firefighting account. They say that strong starting point will help cushion any revenue drop-off and that they're keeping a tight lid on spending when they can. Yet Republican House Speaker Greg Hertz of Polson says he's guessing revenue could be $400 million to $500 million less than expected in the next year. And a new report by the financial service Moody's agrees. Hertz says if that's the case, why not make some cuts now so the full brunt won't be on the next legislature? Bullock said Wednesday it's too early to make that call and that it could cause more harm than good.
The notion that then what we should do is cuts based on what might happen 6 months from now or a year from now, I think it's probably misplaced for a number of reasons. One of which is adding to the unemployment rolls doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense, or cutting services that Montanans rely upon doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense right now.
Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Now, the governor also noted that budget analysts will have a much clearer picture on tax revenue later this summer. The State Department of Commerce has received more than 9,600 grant applications from businesses, organizations, and individuals impacted by the pandemic. The state began taking applications for CARES Act funds last Thursday. Now, 10 new programs will help distribute $123 million in funds. The overwhelming majority of applications, some 7,000, went to the Montana Business Stabilization Grant Program. That program provides working capital for Montana-owned small businesses with 50 or fewer employees who have sustained a loss of revenue due to COVID-19.
Within the first 24 hours after they opened on Thursday morning, we received 5,000 applications into the Business Stabilization Program, and then another kind of 2,000 since then. So the demand has been very clear and very clear.
The first group of grant award letters went out yesterday, and money will be sent to approved applicants as soon as banking information is confirmed. Well, life in Wyoming will start getting a little closer to normal this week. Today, Governor Mark Gordon eased COVID-19 restrictions on several types of businesses. Q2's Russ Riesinger joins us from the newsroom with those details. Russ.
Well, the updated public health orders will go into effect this Friday, May 15th, and will ease restrictions on several business categories. Here's a quick look at what some of that entails. First of all, restaurants and bars can again provide indoor and outdoor service with tables limited to groups of 6 and 6 feet apart. Servers must also wear face coverings. Gyms can also reopen, but equipment must be at least 6 feet apart, and class sizes are limited to 25 with social distancing. Movie theaters and concert halls can reopen with limited capacity. Groups seated together must be limited to 6. Also, child care providers can reopen with groups restricted to 25 in each separate room. Churches and funeral homes may allow gatherings of more than 25 people. Now, the governor says residents must remain vigilant about social distancing.
It's absolutely essential that every Wyoming citizen at this point recognize that it is their responsibility not only to execute their rights as they see them, but also to take responsibility for those around them. And that means that since we are loosening some of these things, that responsibility becomes ever clearer every day.
The governor also said during today's news conference that he's allocated $17 million in federal funding to expand COVID-19 testing, improve contact tracing, and add to the state's supply of personal protective equipment. Again, the easing of those restrictions set to go into place this Friday there in Wyoming. Jeanelle?
All right, thanks so much, Russ. And today, Wyoming health officials report 10 new confirmed coronavirus cases across the state. Well, today, Montana state health authorities announced one more confirmed case, this latest case in Yellowstone County. Well, as families work to make ends meet through this pandemic, Riverstone Health is encouraging parents to look into the WIC program. The program is available to make sure Montana children and families do not go hungry. Families are given an EBT card to purchase cereal, juice, milk, cheese, and other essential foods. Pregnant women, new mothers, and those caring for young children could qualify for the program if they lost their jobs due to the pandemic. Riverstone Health WIC provides services in Yellowstone, Carbon, Muscle Shell, and Stillwater counties. For the safety of families, eligibility can be determined over the phone.
We're finding that when families are able to be in their own home and kind of visit with us over the phone, people do seem to be relaxed and kind of willing to chat versus, sometimes coming to the office can be a little bit more stressful for the families. And so right now things are really, it's great to talk to the families in their home in that really relaxed environment. And we're getting good participation rates and less no-shows and things like that.
The income eligibility guidelines are listed on your screen by household size. To find out more, if you qualify, you can call 247-3370 or email wic@riverstonehealth.org. Well, AMC theaters across the country remain closed due to the pandemic, but amusement parks drive-in theater owners Riley and Vicki Cook say you can still take in a flick. The drive-in theater in Laurel is open for business and will show Bad Boys for Life and Sonic the Hedgehog tonight and tomorrow night. Riley Cook tells us the theater is operating like normal for the most part, but helps people social distance with marked off parking spots 6 feet apart. Now, Cook says while the drive-in is open, you won't yet get to see any new releases. Well, as the pandemic keeps more people away from work and school, many are casting their rods into Montana lakes, rivers, and streams. Numbers released by Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks show a 44% jump in sale of resident fishing license over the last year. Now, last year at this time, the agency sold more than 65,000. This year to date, that number is close to 99,000. However, the pandemic also means a drop in non-resident fishing licenses. Bob Gibson with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks believes that is due to the 14-day quarantine. Still ahead on tonight's 5:30 News, stay with us because we'll show you where the die-hard skiers can hit the slopes this spring and summer. And in sports, Scott sets the table for tonight's Midland Roundtable Athlete of the Year banquet, where your winners will be announced.
And coming up in weather, even though we are expecting a few, dry conditions tomorrow, we are looking at more precipitation moving in by Friday. We'll have all the details coming your way in just a few more minutes.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.